A long formal table stands in warm evening light, laid for 40 and set for a feast that will not come. Only 3 chairs are pulled out. A clerk sits at the last one, checking a sum he clearly does not like. He has paid into a promise for most of his life. Now he is calculating whether it will still be there. A state once did something remarkable. It chose an age almost no one lived to reach, and it called that age a gift. So was it generosity, or a number chosen because almost no one would live to collect it? This is not an illusion. It is one of the boldest social bargains a government ever struck. It was the moment a government first promised to feed a person it had never met, decades in advance. Every promise has a price, and every reward for surviving leaves someone doing the math. The pension was built on a bet, and the house wrote the odds. This is not another prophecy of collapse. People have called that crash for decades and kept missing the date. This is something slower and harder to reverse. A promise designed to be affordable is not designed to be kept. So go back to where the design began, 1889, when Otto von Bismarck's Germany created the first state old age pension. The age was set at 70, when a laborer at birth might expect only his 40s. We will correct that number honestly soon. The table has not moved since. Only the number of empty chairs has. The promise was never broken by accident. It was engineered to be affordable, and the next chapter shows exactly how. In the registry office of a German industrial town, a clerk opens a ledger and enters a name against a promised age. The age is 70. He is 29. He already knows, on some level, he will never see this page turned in his favor. The original pension paid out at 70. Back then, a laborer who reached adulthood could still expect to die in his 40s or 50s. So the number on the page was not generosity. It was arithmetic dressed as kindness. Consider how the arithmetic worked. 10 workers starting careers together, filing past the same window, signing the same book. Under Bismarck's rules, only a handful would ever collect. It was a gift rarely paid. But the birth average deserves an honest correction, the kind a skeptic will demand. Life expectancy at birth then sat in the low 40s, dragged down hard by infant mortality. But a man who reached 20 could expect to live near 60, and perhaps 1 in 3 saw 70. In 1916, Germany lowered the threshold to 65. The world copied that number without asking why. And here is the quiet flaw at the heart of it. The whole promise rested on a demographic ratio, on how many survivors there would be. A state can freeze a number on a page. It cannot freeze the odds of surviving to reach it. So what happens when almost everyone does? Most people picture a state pension as a jar with their name on it, decades of quiet deposits waiting patiently for the day they retire. That picture is comforting, and it is wrong. A state pension is not a personal savings account. It is pay as you go, which means one plain thing. This month's workers pay this month's retirees directly. The money you contributed last month was spent last month on someone already collecting. So who is actually paying whom? Follow one household to find out. When Social Security began paying out in the 1940s, in the United States, roughly 40 workers stood behind every retiree. Picture that man opening his mailbox. Behind him, unseen, 40 strangers each handing over a slice of their paycheck. No one of the 40 felt it. Together, without strain, they carried him easily. The dinner table built for 40 was comfortably serving one, and the arithmetic looked generous, even kind. But ratios are not fixed, and this one did not hold. That same table now serves 3. Roughly 3 workers stand behind each retiree, carrying a promise that once rested on 40 pairs of shoulders. The check has not shrunk. The crowd behind it has. Trustees now project the fund's combined reserves could run dry around 2034. After that, incoming taxes would still cover most benefits, just not all of them. That is the first crack in the contract. The table built for 40 was never redesigned, so who redesigns it now? So why not simply raise the money? A skeptic asks it the moment the ledger stops balancing, and it deserves a straight answer. Raise taxes or print the difference? The arithmetic looks solved on paper. But paper is where these fixes tend to stay. Walk the honest version of the dilemma because it has no comfortable side. Raise the retirement age and you break the promise to those already old, already waiting, already counting the months. Leave the age exactly where it is, and the whole weight lands on those still working. A shrinking crowd asked to carry a growing one. Every door in the room leads somewhere painful. In 2023, France chose the first door. The age moved from 62 to 64. For months, the streets filled with people who had built their retirement around the old number. 2 years does not sound like much. To a body that has done the same work for 40 years, it is 2 more winters on the same feet. Greece walked through a different door. Pensions already paid, cut again and again. Not the promise to future retirees, the check in a pensioner's hand this month. There is a quieter version of the same trick, one that needs no protest at all. A pension rarely breaks by announcement. It erodes, one unindexed year of inflation at a time, until the same check buys a little less every year. Raising the age and cutting the check were one lever pulled 2 ways. Britain let inflation pull it, with no vote at all. On an ordinary office floor in Japan today, a man well past 70 sits at a desk that never asked him to leave. He is not a curiosity there. He is a colleague, one of many, still on payroll, still expected on Monday. His country never scheduled a crisis vote to arrive here. It simply kept working, past the age the rest of us call a finish line. Consider what that quiet says about the numbers behind it. Roughly 1 in 3 people in Japan is now 65 or older, among the oldest societies on Earth. Even past 70, more than 1 in 3 Japanese men still hold paid work. This is not a nation that broke the promise. It is renegotiating it, chair by chair. But watch how the loop closes, because it closes fast. Fewer children born means fewer future workers. Fewer workers means a shorter table. A shorter table means the same hunger for chairs repeats itself 1 generation later, on schedule. And the households having fewer children are, quietly, the very households now wondering who will fund them. So the clerk opens his notebook a second time, halfway across the world, and does the arithmetic again. This time his pen moves slower. He is not calculating whether the age will move. He is calculating whether the world that built the age still exists. The same threshold, 65, now means something almost nobody who drew it would recognize. And the table is about to say so out loud. The number on the page has not moved in over a century. Only the number of empty chairs around it has. Say plainly what this promise did. For a century it worked, on a scale hard to hold in the mind. It lifted hundreds of millions of retirees out of the plain destitution that once waited at the end of a working life. that is not a scam. It is a promise with an expiring shelf life, and those are different things. The old model did not fail, it worked too well, and its success wrote the debts into the system itself. Every industrial nation copied some version of it, but no two nations aged, taxed, or promised in quite the same way. Honest history refuses to pretend otherwise. The clerk lowers his pen and simply looks. He has stopped counting. The empty chairs count themselves now. The clerk is still there with his paper and his pen, but he is not alone anymore. A couple sits near him now, apartment keys on the table between them, still waiting, exactly as they were. A promise you cannot outlive is only a gift while the arithmetic holds. The couple looks up, and the same question he asked at the start settles quietly over their own 20 years. He writes one line and underlines it. At what age will the promise still be there for you? Then he folds the paper and keeps watching. The warm light holds on the table a moment longer, then lets it go, and the clerk, at last, sits still.